live from Hanoi, Vietnam. This is The Side Hustle Show with Nick Loper, episode 28.
Welcome to The Side Hustle Show, where aspiring part-time entrepreneurs learn how to turn their side hustle dreams into reality. Because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. And now, your host, Nick Loper.
Hey everybody, Nick Loper here. Welcome to The Side Hustle Show. This is episode 28, and today we're learning how to live rent-free. How does that sound? Amazing opportunity for side hustlers with Airbnb. If you're not familiar with the service, Airbnb is a peer-to-peer lodging network that's making waves, but not so many friends in the hotel business. Now, I had my first Airbnb experience this summer when I was traveling to Philadelphia for the Affiliate Summit conference. Yeah, and I wanted to save some money versus getting a hotel room, but I also wanted to check out the service in the name of side hustle market research. And my host in Philadelphia, Brian, did an awesome job explaining how it all worked. And then he kind of mentioned in passing that after only a few months on the site, he was already more than covering his entire rent from Airbnb bookings. Really incredible. First, some news before we get started today. A couple shouts for a new 5-star iTunes review. JC from jnsnet.com says super useful for side hustlers like me. GN, thank you so much for the review. Next one is 5 stars from The Overwhelmed Brain. He says, one of my new favorite shows as an entrepreneur. I'm totally hooked. Thank you guys so much for listening and taking the time to leave that feedback. It definitely gets me pumped up because I read each and every comment. And second piece of news, I got some big news. My new book, The Small Business Website Checklist, is out this week. Now, the book is my longest book project to date, and it's one I'm really excited for. It's a non-technical guide to the elements every small business should consider having on their website. And the project has been in the works for a while. And you may remember I posted about it a couple weeks ago how I actually tried to outsource the writing of the book, which turned out to be a big mistake. My outsourced writer, who I found on Elance, delivered work that was technically okay, but completely lacked voice and value. It just wasn't me. So I had to scrap the entire text and rewrite the entire thing from scratch. So my version was more than twice as long and, in my opinion, about 100 times more useful. Because it was written from my personal experience in building websites, both successes and failures. So you'll learn all about setting up your site the right way to generate more leads, capture more sales, and earn more money. That's what it's all about. I cover everything you need to know to get started online, how to take your existing site to the next level if you're feeling like it's just not performing the way it should. We're talking content, usability, SEO, trust signals, e-commerce, legal stuff, and much, much more. And as a special offer for the Side Hustle Show listeners, for a limited time, the book is available on Amazon for just 99 cents. Visit sidehustlenation.com/checklist to grab your copy today for less than $1. That's sidehustlenation.com/checklist. That offer is good through November 19th of 2013. Check it out. If you feel like it's a worthwhile read, leave me a review on Amazon. That's a huge help. And if you're listening to this in the not so distant future or the distant future, you're welcome to grab a copy as well, even if the promo period has ended. That's sidehustlenation.com/checklist. Okay, so let's get on with the show. My Airbnb host, Brian from Philadelphia, didn't want to come on the podcast, but as luck would have it, I was introduced to another Airbnb host, Scott Bold, through a mutual contact, Dave Craig, on Twitter. So thank you, Dave, for connecting us. And I expect this to be one of the most popular episodes because just imagine, if you can cover your fixed expenses with a side hustle, like this whole new world of opportunity is opened up to you. It's huge. And with that, we'll get Scott on the line and go through all the tips and tricks to get started with Airbnb. Scott, welcome to the Side Hustle Show.
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be here.
It's going great. I'm really excited for this show. So Scott is a corporate escapee and world traveler, which is only appropriate as I'm actually recording this episode from Hanoi, Vietnam. So you may hear some honking motorbikes in the background. Now, Scott, the prospect of living rent-free or nearly rent-free is just huge because it opens up so many other opportunities. And the one path you found to make that happen is Airbnb. So can you tell me how you got started as a host? Like what inspired you to take the plunge and list your place on the site?
Okay, well, I've always been an accommodating person. I kind of have a background in couch surfing, so I don't know if any of your listeners are familiar with that or if you've done any couch surfing, but
I haven't done any couch surfing myself, but I like that analogy. It's like here's couch surfing except with a dollar sign attached.
exactly. So I had done couch surfing before I ever knew what Airbnb was, and for me, couch surfing was always about a cultural exchange and also to save money while you're traveling.
Right.
So there was this situation that came up, and and I was traveling to a wedding, and I didn't want to pay the big bucks at the hotel, and I didn't want to do couch surfing because to me, to go and stay at somebody's place and then not spend time with them is kind of a misuse of the couch surfing program. So I was looking for an option of somewhere cheap to stay that was also that wasn't couch surfing, and that's kind of how I found Airbnb. So I signed up.
Okay, so you started as a guest.
Yeah. So I started as a guest because I went to the first place, and Airbnb had this special where if you list your place online, you get 50% off your first stay.
Okay.
So I completely fell into this. This was not a premeditated side hustle or anything like that.
Okay.
I purely signed up because there were no stipulations. I didn't have to actually rent my place out.
Just list it.
And in fact, I had no intention on renting it out. I had a place in DC that was close to the mall, so close to tourist attractions, but I didn't even have a full spare bedroom. I had a futon in a glorified, hallway. It was a wide hallway, really.
Okay.
And so I.
So how much did you charge for this futon in a wide hallway?
Exactly, I charged $100 a night,
which you thought would be prohibitively expensive.
Exactly, I put it up there to get the deal, and I didn't even put a picture up. I put a picture of the Washington Monument that I downloaded off of Google Images.
Okay.
And I put about 3 lines that completely described the type of living situation that people would be faced with. It was very bare bones profile.
Okay.
And I put the listing up there for, I think when I started, I think I had it up at $80 actually.
Okay.
And by the time I got back from my first stay, I had already had more requests than I could handle.
Wow,
so 80 was obviously too low.
Well,
hotels
in DC are nuts, so that makes sense, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, and that's one of the biggest things with Airbnb is just taking advantage of being in a marketplace that is just overly expensive. But
okay, so
that's kind of how I got involved.
Okay, so yeah, you get all these inquiries, and you start thinking like, well, I guess I might as well check it out and see how it works if people really want to stay here.
Yeah, that was my thought. Is like, I almost felt bad charging money for people to stay in this situation because it wasn't the greatest situation, and I had for years been letting people stay there for free. So for me, it wasn't a problem to overcome the barrier of staying with a stranger because I had already lent my house out to strangers through couchsurfing and had good experiences.
Yeah.
For me, it was just I wasn't used to charging money for it, so there was a different dynamic.
Did you find? Let's talk about that for a second. Like, there's obviously a different demographic or different user base between couchsurfing and Airbnb. Like, I don't know. What have you found? Like, the difference in clientele?
Yeah, there is a slight difference. The types of people you get in couchsurfing can be all over the board because it's free, and so you can potentially get some really, really interesting characters on couchsurfing.
Okay.
And Airbnb, I would say, is a little bit more mainstream because people are paying to travel, and so you usually get more normal people with Airbnb. But I've still found that even with Airbnb, a lot of the people that you end up hosting, they want to interact with you, and they're doing Airbnb for a lot of the same reasons why people do couchsurfing, which is to interact with somebody who lives in that city or lives in that country, because we've gotten a lot of international people.
Right. So you kind of opening your door to strangers, I imagine, is 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 a hurdle for some people to come over. Like, would you get any information on your potential guests? Like, have you ever like looked at somebody's? I mean, do you get like access to their profile and you'd be like, this person looks like they're nuts. Like, there's no way they're coming to my house. Like, what? How does that work?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You get a lot of information where you can draw conclusions about people before you ever have to make a decision on whether or not you want to host them. I mean, the first thing that you have going for you with Airbnb is the review system, where, if these people have ever used the program before, hosts are making reviews and telling you, hey, this person's normal, they showed up, they stayed, they didn't wreck the place, I'd recommend them. So
Okay.
right there, if somebody has reviews, that's a pretty good amount of assurance that unless they're in some weird long con or something like that, they're probably normal people.
Okay. And how
So-
about if if people are just getting started as a guest, like you get newbies coming on, and what's your process for those people?
Yeah, and that at that point, my process is really kind of simplistic, but it's are these people asking me the types of questions that I would ask as a new user who's staying in a random stranger's house?
Okay. What kind of questions?
So what I mean by that is if somebody sends me a message that's very brief and cryptic and kind of spammy, and they don't have a picture in their profile and they've never used the system before,
Okay.
that's just like screams red flags, and I won't accept people like.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, look, if you're not gonna, like, here, I'm opening up my entire house to you. You can't even post a picture.
Exactly. And if you think about it, if you put yourself in their shoes, here's a person who's never used this program before, and they are paying money to sleep in a stranger's house. You'd think they'd have at least some basic questions about how the process works.
Yeah, it's a little weird, huh?
Exactly. And with most of the people that are normal people that are newcomers to the site, you get that. You get a nice long email or long message, and you can tell that this person is trying to use the site in a responsible way. And so to me, that's a good way of judging somebody's character is, are they acting like a normal human being would act when they're about to pay money to sleep in a stranger's house?
Yeah, I think I probably had to send a similar note when I stayed this summer in Philadelphia. Hey, this is my first time on Airbnb. Really excited to check it out. Just not entirely sure how it works. Like, do you need any information from me? Blah blah blah. And he wrote back, and it's like, oh, we get new people all the time. This is how it works. Meet me. I'll give you the key. Blah blah blah. And so that's kind of how it got started. Now, have you ever had, despite all this screening, like, have you ever had anybody stay who was just like a crazy person, or any bad experience with guests?
No, honestly, the worst experience I've had, which isn't even bad, is just hosting somebody that's maybe a little socially awkward, where you aren't really clicking with a person, and so having somebody that you're not used to, that you don't click with in your house for a couple days can maybe be uncomfortable, but that's about it. Not anything violent or dangerous or criminal in any way.
Okay.
And the other thing I'd like to mention about the strangers is Airbnb has a ridiculous $1 million insurance policy per host.
Really?
Where if somebody comes in and trashes your place, you're not even liable. They'll pay out of their insurance policy to fix it.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. That's awesome. So that kind of leads into the next question, which is kind of like how to get your landlord to sign off. But knowing that they have that insurance policy in place, that's huge. For people who are renting and want to try this as a side hustle.
Yeah. I think that if you're going the approach where you want to be 100% out in the open and you want to discuss these things with your landlord before you go and do it, I think that's a great point to bring up. That's not the exact approach I took, but I think that's a good way to go about it.
So your approach was more of the ask for forgiveness rather than permission?
Yeah, because it was kind of a gradual process for me. I didn't ask my landlords for permission to have my parents visit. I didn't ask them for permission to have my friends visit. And then when I started doing couch surfing, I never asked to have their permission to have a couch surfer come. So for me, when I made the transition into Airbnb, I didn't even really think to ask permission because it was, I'm just, I'm basically bringing in people that I've vetted by my own personal standards into my own residence, and I'm taking personal responsibility for their behavior. It's not something I would ever expect the landlord to bail me out on.
Right, right, right. No, that makes sense. I like kind of the analogy. I wouldn't ask their permission to, to have friends sleep over or to have somebody else, but it's a little bit tricky when there's a dollar sign attached. But I was going to say we're not attorneys, so take everything with a grain of salt.
Exactly. Honestly, my best advice is read your documentation for your apartment or your condo or wherever you're living. Make sure you understand. Make sure you're not blatantly violating something that's going to get you in trouble. And then after that point, you've got to make a judgment call and do it at your own risk. I mean, what I do is very low scale because I'm always there when I have people renting from me. While there are some people that just rent a place and are absentee Airbnb landlords and do it from a distance and do an electronic key transfer. And that to me is kind of pushing the legal limits a little further because these people aren't even really monitoring the process.
Okay, that's really okay. That just kind of got the wheels turning as a different real estate investment strategy. But that's probably the topic for another show.
Actually, I'll send you the link to this and you can share it with readers. But I read a really interesting article the other day about a guy. He's from the San Francisco area. He's a startup guy, and he went down to Las Vegas, bought a condo, 1-bedroom condo like this, furnished it, and then paid a maid service, and then has a little electronic key box he uses for key transfers, and he runs the entire thing remotely from San Francisco. And he did a case study on it and put a blog post up. I think he netted $13,000 last year.
Okay, well, that's a nice little return. Yeah, we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. So let's talk about kind of setting up shop for people who want to get started on the site. I mean, you kind of said you fell into it by accident. Now, for your second listing with a little bit of experience under your belt, were there any best practices like to set up the listing on the site?
Yeah. I think if you're considering doing this, the first thing and the easiest thing to do is just some basic market research on Airbnb. And what I mean by that is just look in your neighborhood or your city or area and just see what kind of an Airbnb market exists. What are people offering? How much are they charging for it? And do you have the type of situation where you can compete with their offerings? And I think that's like the most straightforward and really gets you 80% of the answer as to whether or not you should be doing this.
Yeah, we were looking before this call, we were looking up in our area, and we're kind of in a suburb of San Francisco. But somebody was renting out like a tent in their backyard for like $75 a night or something. We're like, this is nuts. So
holy crap.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so kind of pricing. So you would price based on the Airbnb competition, kind of with the mentality that, hey, the people already on there have probably done their research for like, what an actual hotel is charging.
Well, yeah. I think because I think Airbnb is a different market than the hotel market. Usually when people are deciding to go to Airbnb, they're either looking for something specific about Airbnb or they're trying to go in that price range. Usually it's the price range thing. So I look at the competition more, the Airbnb competitors, than I do the hotels. And that's also assuming that the people that you're looking at on Airbnb have a decent amount of reviews and you can tell that they're getting people to stay with them. If their listings are dead, then you may have to do more research and look into hotels and kind of be a trailblazer if you're in a newer area.
Okay. Now, what did you do to kind of solicit a critical mass of reviews? So you started getting inquiries even when there were no reviews on your page. Do you think that's because the price was attractive, or kind of how do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in DC we got a lot of traffic because the price was attractive and we really had a prime location for tourists in DC. So even though the accommodations were slightly sketchy, not sketchy, but they weren't fantastic. They weren't private. even though that was the case, people still wanted to be that close to the mall because hotels in that area were hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So I think that's what helped there. And those reviews we got from DC carried over to our second property when we moved down to North Carolina.
Okay, so you're kind of under one parent account, but for a different location. Exactly.
It's one of those things where people can see your reviews for other properties and kind of get a feel for the type of person you are. And then each property, the reviews themselves are associated with each individual property. So they can also get a feel for the property.
Okay. This is fascinating stuff. Go ahead.
In general, though, I think the biggest question with pricing, to get back onto that topic, is, thinking about what your motivation and what goals are with Airbnb. Because if you want to get in there and run this and maximize the profit, you can aggressively position yourself with price, and you'll have a ton of requests, probably more than you want.
Okay.
Especially if you're trying to do this as a side hustle thing. So, the way I optimized it was for a slightly higher price point where you're not getting consistently bombarded with requests, and it's at a manageable level where you're still making good money on a per night basis and it's worth your while, but you're not flooded with people.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is perfect for me. Like, I work from home. I could totally meet people as they came in. Like, I'm getting excited about it. But let's.
Yeah, especially in San Francisco, you should definitely get into this.
I should get off my butt and pull the trigger on it. Now let's talk about earnings potential. Obviously, if you're in DC, if you're in San Francisco, if you're in New York, like, you have a bigger, you can command a higher price point depending on what your place looks like. But there's also more competition. So you kind of mentioned the $100 a night price point. Is that, I don't even know. I guess it depends on the market. Like, but what would be an average, do you think?
So for an example, I now live in a very low cost of living area. It's Wilmington, North Carolina, down by the beach. And it gets a lot of tourist traffic because of the fact that it's right by the beach. But the cost of living in general is very low. So my rent is only $700 a month.
Oh, I'm envious of that.
I know. Trust me, that's half the reason why I moved here. But my rent was only $700 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath place. So we were charging $75 a night in that type of an economic situation down here.
Okay, so it doesn't take a huge, super high occupancy rate to essentially pay your entire rent.
No, yeah, because at that rate right there, we were basically covering our rent.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because with the, we would, another thing is we would kind of modify prices during high traffic.
Gotcha. Like, as demand goes up, price goes up. That makes sense. Are you pursuing kind of that higher price, lower volume strategy?
Yeah, because, as awesome as Airbnb is, when you're working from home and you have people staying with you, it's harder to get work done. It's harder to concentrate. And even though there's not a lot of direct work involved, and if you were working at an office or you had a normal job, it wouldn't even be a problem. But when you're trying to work from home, it makes it a little more difficult. So we wanted to have a lower volume so that we had more time to ourselves.
Okay, that makes sense. So speaking of the time required, like, how much time do you think you spend on this in a week, in a month? Is this a viable side hustle? Well, you already said somebody is managing this completely remotely, but is this a viable side hustle for people who are working 9 to 5? Totally.
Airbnb makes it really convenient. I have all the messages on the site texted to me and also emailed to me. So as far as once you get the profile up, which doesn't take any more time than writing a description, setting your policies, it takes an afternoon maybe. And at that point, you can manage the communications between potential guests from your phone, from your computer, really from anywhere. And it's very, very, very simple to do. And then as far as the amount of time it takes when you're actually having people staying with you, that can completely vary depending on the person.
Like how much?
Honestly, I wouldn't.
Yeah, like how much they want to talk and stuff.
Yeah, because that's one of the tips I would have for people that are setting up, doing Airbnb from scratch. Is, well, the first thing you got to know is that some people use Airbnb because they want to hang out with you, a person who lives in that area, and they kind of want to, for a lot of people that are international, they want to get to know an American, or they want to get the inside scoop on, your neighborhood or your city and things like that. So there's a good portion of people that want that experience.
Okay. Do you get a lot of international traffic?
Yeah, when we were in Washington, D.C., almost everybody we got international. And then down here, it's been kind of 50-50.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. You're meeting people from all over the world.
Yes. It's very, I actually enjoy it. And that's kind of the point I'm making is if you're going to get into this, you should enjoy having people from other cultures and other places. You should enjoy having them into your home, and you should enjoy the process of showing them around, because a lot of people are going to want that. And it just makes for a better overall, a more positive experience for everybody if you actually enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you this is a little bit of an aside now, do you maintain your Couchsurfing listing kind of alongside? Like, do people know they could get it for free if they were only on this other site?
That's actually really something that's funny to me, because we do have our Couchsurfing listing and we couch surf people, from time to time, just like we host people on Airbnb. And it's really funny to me because if you just went over to my Couchsurfing site and made the same request to me on my Couchsurfing site, I would have nearly as high a likelihood of accepting you as I would on my Airbnb site.
Okay. So there's a tip.
Which is really funny.
If you want to rent a place in Wilmington, look up Couchsurfing first.
It's true. And that's actually, it's one of my hardest problems with this, and it sounds like a really fluffy problem, but I actually sometimes feel bad taking people's money because I enjoy what I'm doing here. Like when we get a couple of people from, let's say, Germany, and they come and we go out and have a really awesome time out on the town, like spend the day at the beach. By the end of the day, I feel like I have ripped these people off because they're paying me to be my friends.
Yeah, now you're friends, but now there's still the dollars attached, and it gets kind of awkward.
Yeah, but if it wasn't, and I'll tell you what makes it very smooth is the fact that money and the whole payment side of things never happens in person. That's all done by Airbnb, and it makes it possible to develop a relationship with these people because you don't actually have to take money from their hands.
Right, they're not handing you cash like as they leave. Yeah.
Exactly, but it's still kind of a feeling. It's a feeling in my gut where I'm like, man, I really like these people, and I feel bad that they just paid me a several $100 beer.
Yeah, what do you think of it that way? So I really like that kind of unexpected benefit. Hey, you're meeting people, making connections from all over the world. That's really, really cool. Any unexpected costs or downsides to this?
Yeah, I think the only unexpected downside is really kind of something we already covered, which is the fact that if you're working from home, even if you're working in the evenings from home, it's sometimes hard to concentrate and focus when you have people in your house.
Gotcha.
It's just like having friends over. It's like having somebody visiting. I mean, you're sharing your living spaces with them. It's that exact same sensation. So, any of the downsides that come with having visitors and having guests is the same for Airbnb as it would be for anything else.
Right.
But I've never had a really bad experience or anything criminal or anything really negative.
Okay. Awesome. This is a really cool interview. Really excited for the opportunity that Airbnb presents for Side Hustle Nation. So Scott, what's next for you?
A huge, pretty much a year-long trip down to Central and South America.
Oh, so that's awesome. I'm excited for you. Yeah,
it's something I've been dreaming of for years now, and kind of have slowly put into practice. And now my girlfriend and I are finally ready, and we're taking the plunge. And we've got a one-way ticket down to Nicaragua on January 11th of 2014, and then
tickets are booked. It's official. It's happening.
Oh yeah, this is going down, and like I said, it's one way. So we have literally we're in Nicaragua January 11th, and we have no idea, where we're gonna end up and when we're gonna come back. So, and that's the way I wanted to do it because I want to have the freedom to, kind of go in whatever direction my intuition takes me.
Super cool. You're gonna love it down there. Now, how's your Spanish?
My Spanish is getting good. I've probably been studying Spanish about 3-4 hours a day for the past 2 months, and I've actually gotten some language buddies through Skype and some other local places, and I've been working on my conversational Spanish. And I honestly think that a month or two into the trip, I should be speaking pretty well, pretty much able to communicate some more complex messages. I can do the simple stuff now, but I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I think you'll be good to go. So we'll wrap up, Scott, with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation. Doesn't have to be Airbnb related, and then where people can connect with you online and if they want to follow along with your travels.
I would say my number one tip for Side Hustle Nation is if your motivation for being involved in a side hustle is that you want to create that freedom in your life, I would say the best thing you can do right now is start to reduce your material needs and your attachment to expensive, become more frugal, limit your lifestyle so that that's going to be the easiest way for you to transition into a side hustle lifestyle, is to just have a simple existence and not be attached to material things, because at that point it's very easy to sustain your lifestyle through side hustle things, and it gives you the freedom of time to explore what you're actually interested in doing, some of your passions, your travel, other things that you want to do. So I would say that's the biggest tip I have.
So true. I love it. And where can people find you online?
Yeah, so if you're interested in checking out my blog, it's Scott, SCOTT, bold, BOLD.com. Mainly, I'm going to be writing about a wide range of topics, kind of some of my side entrepreneurial projects, my travels down into Central and South America, the whole language learning experience. So if that's the kind of stuff you're interested in, I'd highly recommend you check it out.
Very cool. Thanks so much for sharing all this wisdom on Airbnb, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick.
Live from Hanoi, Vietnam, this is The Side Hustle Show with Nick Loper, episode 28.
Thanks for listening to The Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.